Hello and welcome back to another build video on my channel. Last time I said I'd build an airship, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. This airship's going to be built to go with the Sky Lodge from the last video, and that's where we are right now. And if you missed that video, it's definitely worth a watch before this one. I've assembled a small motley crew today, although Lorelei seems to have confused the type of airship that we'll be building. It's not going to be a pirate ship. But I'll explain more about the lore later in the video. We've also got the penguin, that we are now officially calling Penny from the Evil Tower build as our adorable mascot. I'm super excited to have a go at this and see what I can come up with, so I hope you enjoy this build, and now let's get into it. Approaching a project like this can be really daunting, so the way that I'm going to approach this airship is by making it 2D first. And what I mean by that is I'm going to work on the shaping of the ship with a wireframe just from the side profile first, and then when I'm happy with it, I'll make it 3D. And that goes for the Zeppelin balloon above as well. Once I've got the nice oval shape for that, I'll make that 3D too. In my hotbar, I've got 5 different types of wood, and the purpose of this is to remind me not to just use one type of wood. If I do that, then the build might look a bit samey on the bottom half where the ship is, and so to try and encourage me to make more variation right from the get-go, I'm going to be using 5 different types of wood, or at least I'm going to try and use multiple types of wood. So now that we've got all of that out the way, it's time to start the build. And I think this time we're going to do something a bit different. And instead, I'm going to do a small montage of me just building out the wireframe. And then when that's done, we'll talk about what we've got. I think I've settled on this as the final shape for my airship, and it looks really cool, and I'm happy with it so far. Hopefully you can see what I'm going for. And doing this outline of the shape is a really good way to start a build like this, so it can really help you to get a good idea and get you on the best footing so that you can continue the project and not have to change too much later on. I think the next thing that I need to do is make this all 3D, so I'm going to use a bit of wireframing to help me make the width of the balloon and the width of the hull of the ship. And then when I've done that, I'm going to fill in all the blocks so that we have a full structure. So let's get into the time lapses. Oh, we are getting an airship. It is starting to look really cool now that we have a 3D shape to this thing. Look at this. This is cool. So I've worked on trying to match the shape, and hopefully it starts to look okay, like a nice curve. And obviously we're nowhere near done. There's still loads to do, but by using 2 different types of wood, I'm hopefully going to create some nice visual interest there. I've also got the rudder kind of fin thing at the bottom blocked in. That's going to be nice and thin compared to the rest of the structure. And then we've got the big balloon, and the big balloon was a nightmare. I had to end up cutting the time lapse because I struggled with it so much to get the shaping at the ends here. It was easy in the middle, but when I got to here, it was really, really tough to figure that out. Thankfully, Lorelei helped me, and in the end, we managed to figure it out. At the start, I had like diagonal edges, and it looked like a diamond shape rather than a circle. So now we've fixed that. If you look from the side here, the whole thing looks way more circular. So that's much better. So we're happy with that. And yeah, it's looking great. So we've got a big bulky back to the ship. We've got a nice curved front. And the whole thing's huge. Although there are a couple of bits on the deck here that I haven't done yet because not sure how I'm going to shape those. But I'll figure it out and come back in a minute with them finished. If you drop inside the ship, you can see that there's plenty of space. We're going to be able to have 2 floors of interior in the ship, which is going to be amazing. So we can definitely do all the crew quarters and storage areas and all good stuff like that. So yeah, really excited to build out the interior of this one. With those 2 sections now built, I think it's time to do some time-lapsing. And I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to time-lapse detailing the side of the ship here. And with the detail copied over to the other side, the detail on the bottom half of the ship is nearly there. We've got a rudder, we've got these turbines to help propel the whole ship forward, we've got a balcony, we've got windows, we've got wooden beams all over the place. We've even got these nice gold fences for a touch of colour. And at the front here, we have a special gap. And in this special gap, I'm going to put the figurehead of the ship. And it's kind of awesome that you can just place the figurehead in there, and now the ship has a lovely gold figurehead. And I should say this is a trading ship, not a military ship. So I didn't do any cannons, and I haven't done any aggressive colors or anything like that, like red. I'm just going to keep it nice and peaceful because this is just a trading ship. If I want to, I could always do a video in the future where I build a military version that's got a load more like evil stuff and, you know, more spikes and metal things and weapons and stuff. With all of this detail in on the bottom half of the ship, I think the next thing to do is turn the attention towards the balloon. I'm going to move into some time lapses now. I'm going to cover this thing in probably like some fabric and wood and maybe some metal stuff. And we're going to see how it goes. And of course, very important, I have to actually attach it to the ship because at the moment this is just levitating and we've got to fix that. And now coming out of those time lapses, we have a nearly finished outside of the ship. And everything is looking really, really cool. And I'm really happy so far. Attaching the balloon to the hull of the ship has really made a big difference. And adding all that detail, especially some texture to the balloon, has just brought the whole build to a whole nother level that I'm really happy with. I did play around with the sails on the bottom of the ship a lot. And I think I've settled on this for now. Just 2 small ones at the front. I think it really helps balance out the big ones at the back on the balloon. Towards the front of the ship, I did end up changing the figurehead to be a little bit more angled and to sit with some ropes because I thought that would just make it look a little bit more realistic like a normal ship that we have in our world. Even though none of this is realistic at all, you know, little touches like that I think just help and make things look cool. And then right at the top here, Lorelei was actually playing around with the idea of having a giant cannon at the front. I did say this isn't going to be a military ship, and that is true, but having one big old cannon at the front, which is this big scaled up blunderbuss model, I think that's fine. We can allow that. So, and it looks really cool, and it's a nice bit of detail here for the front. So now that the ship is looking really good, you'll notice that the big deck is empty, and I need to change that. So the next stage is to detail all of the top of the deck and the top bit up here. I don't know all the technical terms, but yeah, this area over here definitely needs some updates, and then this area too. And then when I've done that, it's time to go inside the ship and do all the interiors. So that's what all the next time lapses will be. So let's get into that right now.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.
This is the end of the time lapses, so now it's time to go into those cinematic flyover clips. I hope you enjoyed those flyover clips, and now I'm here at the Sky Lodge for the walkthrough tour of the ship. And why am I at the Sky Lodge? Well, because the airship's also now at the Sky Lodge. Here it is. Look how big it is, and it's awesome, and it's united with the Sky Lodge build, so it's in its rightful place. So let's get on with the tour. Over this bridge, you get straight onto the deck, and here on the deck, you've got a storage area. The idea here is that I've built a hoist that's attached to a lift that goes down to the cargo bay on the bottom level of the ship. And here we have a wheel. And what you have to imagine is that the rope wraps around the wheel, and then depending on which way you spin the wheel, it will lift or raise the rope, which will lift or raise the lift. Towards the front of the ship are some seating areas for guests to enjoy some time on deck, eating or reading. And there's a small cooking area, which is supposed to be like an on-deck barbecue area. Just in case the airship lands on water, there are a few boats on board. Towards the front of the ship is the big old cannon, and I think this is the only defense the ship has against any kind of giant sky monsters or other ships, like pirates. This area is supposed to be an anchor point. I wanted one chain that was diagonal, just to create a bit of visual difference in the chains on the airship. And these blocks here are volcanic blocks, and they basically look a bit like metal. They're the closest thing I could find. So I'm using them as a metal, and I wanted to create this bit here, which helps make it look like a strong anchor point to put the chain on. Moving down back on the deck towards the back of the ship, we have this small decorated area to cover the stairs. And then we have Lorelei hanging out on the rigging. I really wanted to use rigging for this that looked like rope ladders, and the only thing in the game at the moment that's like this is a Quebec rope ladder. So even though it has a slightly greenish tinge, I still really wanted to use it because now I have functional rigging that you can actually climb. So it makes it feel a little bit more realistic that you can actually go up and down to the top of the balloon, just in case there's any work that needs to be done on the balloon, like if it gets punctured and it needs a patchwork job or something like that. If we head up the stairs, we get to the main steering and navigation area. I created this little steering wheel using an entity of a shield. This is about the most round thing I could find in the game. Everything is square. Even the shield is square, really. But it looks a little bit like a steering wheel, so I thought it would work. So I've scaled it to the right height. And you can imagine standing here and steering the ship while you turn the wheel. Behind this is a small desk for navigation, and we have the ship's main navigator, Penny, from the intro. And there's a map here so that the navigator can work out where they're going. There are some small seating areas and a storage area at the back, but other than that, this area is quite simple. In the center of the ship is a floating rope ladder, and if you climb the rope ladder all the way to the top, then you get to a small room that's situated below the balloon, and the main purpose of this room is to control this fire. This fire will release more hot air into the balloon, which will help the ship go up, or you can make the fire less so that there's less hot air, and then the ship will go down. So this is the main way that the ship goes up and down. So the person on duty up here has a table and some storage in this barrel to help them stay up here while they have to look after, the fire that controls upwards and downwards. It's time to go inside the cabin on the main deck. This is the captain's cabin. And in here we have a big seating and eating area, so like a dining hall. And this is where the captain can host special guests or members of the crew for serious talks or anything like that. There's a balcony at the back for admiring all of the lovely views. And then this area here is the captain's sleeping quarters. So I don't know if I'm the captain or Lorelei's the captain. Lorelei's got the hat at least, so maybe it's her. But yeah, there's a nice chest in here, lots of books, reading, even some coins, and a lovely bed. Heading back out, we're going to go down the stairs to the next level. And on this level are a couple of different areas. The front area here has some nice seating areas outside just for anyone who wants to read or enjoy the time down below deck, just in case it's really cold or something. And these main parts here are rooms. So in here, we have some decent sized rooms. I mean, you got to remember it's an airship, so all the rooms are going to be kind of small. But these ones are decent sized, and these ones even have a nice little window at the front so you can see out. These rooms are really big, probably the biggest rooms for guests. And yeah, these are quite nice. If you pay a good fee, I guess you can get into those rooms. And they're the same on both sides. These rooms are tiny. These are probably for crew members or for people who can't afford a very big sort of fare for their room. And there's 2 of those just in case. There's pretty much only space for a chest and a bed in here. On the left-hand side is a kitchen, and the kitchen serves food for the mess hall. This is the main mess hall for the whole ship, so this is for crew and guests alike. Unless, of course, they've been specially invited to the captain's dining hall. This small room on the other side is, well, to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to make it, so I just made it a magic room. There is some magic stuff downstairs, and perhaps the person who manages that has this space to come up and do some magic-y things. Towards the back of this level is a big cabin quarters, and there's just lots of beds here for the crew to sleep. Heading down to the lowest level, we have the cargo bay, and we have the lift just about to hit the ground, and, you know, then you can unload the goods off it. And this place just has all the cargo for all the people that are traveling on the ship who have paid to have their cargo on the ship so that it can be taken to wherever they want to take it to. At the back of the ship is the engineering area, and I wanted to incorporate some of the lore from the Sky Island here. So the idea with these turbines at the back that help propel the ship forward is that you've got wind crystals. They get power from this earth crystal, and then they shoot wind out, and it helps propel the ship forward. There are some workstations in this area as well, and this place is the only place that has a red carpet to denote that this is a dangerous engineering place. At the front of the lowest floor are a few more rooms. So we have some small rooms that more guests can stay in. And they're the same on both sides. So these ones are also like that as well. This room at the front here is probably the first mate's room. And it's a little bit bigger than the other ones and has just enough for some storage and a wardrobe and a little bit of walking space in the middle. And I think this would be perfect for a first mate. Not too big and luxurious, but a little bit bigger than the crew's cabins. And that's it. That's pretty much the whole walking tour of the ship. So now if we head on out of the ship, I wanted to show how the ship looks with the Sky Lodge, because I realized that in the cinematic shots, we didn't do that. So now, at least, if I can show you how the airship looks next to the Sky Lodge, then you can get an idea of the whole build. Because these 2 things were supposed to be united. And even though they don't look exactly the same, I do like the idea of there being a ship here. It's the purpose of the Sky Lodge, and the ship just helps bring loads more character and make this more of a scene. Hopefully, I got the size of the airship right. It's just about the same height as the Sky Lodge, and I think that's okay. And yeah, makes the 2 look like they were made for each other. So very happy. And I think now all that's left is to head to the outro. Once again, another build is finished. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you love the airship as much as I do. I think the last thing that I have to do is a mutiny. So, Lorelei, you best walk the plank. And it's still not a pirate ship, by the way.